What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to give you my spoiler heavy review of Joker, Folie à Deux. Well, I did about a 2 hour stream when I came from the movie to give a non spoiler review of this movie, and there was a lot I left out that I wanted to, I guess, explain or give my view on. And for me, having sat down and watched a few reviews of other content creators, I think some of the points that they are missing are evident in the review that I was going to give. So I'm sitting down now before watching The Penguin. I'm going to sit down and get my views out on this Joker, and then I'm going to let it rest for a week and maybe come back to it with more of my subs have actually watched it and can speak about it intelligently. The easiest way to describe this movie is a direct subversion of expectation. And that's the easiest way to describe the reaction that reviewers are having to it, that the movie subverted their expectations of what they wanted to see in a Joker sequel. Now, the movie does go into explaining this in the movie. It actually explains it in the movie. In the end, it explains it. To why I said while sitting in the movie, I can understand why some reviewers would be upset after seeing this movie. I can understand why they thought it was garbage. But if you listen to the commentary that they give, it's all about what they thought it was going to be and what it wasn't. What they wanted to see and what they didn't. And basically, a lot of what I saw was people were expecting a massacre. And that's not what they got. And they're disappointed. Which was the point. Now, for me, I broke this movie up into 3 parts. And for me, I didn't see the movie going all over the place, that it didn't know what it wanted to be. No, it knew exactly what it was. It was an answer to everything surrounding this movie. The desire for a sequel when they didn't want to make one. The character becoming more of a cultural icon, which they were not going for. And the fervor about how it will incite incels, which it had nothing to do with. All of that stuff that got wrapped up into that first movie that drove it to $1 billion success is not what the movie was intended. I don't think Todd Phillips made the first movie thinking that every nut on the internet would be chanting the words, "You get what the fuck you deserve," and take that as the power moment in the whole movie. Skipping the fact that this dude just murdered somebody on live television. And that was a horrendous act. Not something to be championed. I didn't think he did it thinking that people would be dressing up like that character and talking about how much they loved it when Arthur Fleck was not a hero. He was a mentally disturbed man who had been abused mentally, sexually, and physically since the time he was a boy. And he finally fucking cracked. And his cracking and the break in reality that he had never really had a full grasp of resulted in a lot of people losing their lives. And people championing him like he's some kind of fucking hero. Now, I would think for any artistic person, if you gave a deep character study of how a person becomes the way they become, and show how objectionable this person can become, I think you would find it very odd and off-putting to see everybody in society embracing the character and putting all kind of good onto it when you just showed them, no, what this person did was messed up. This is not the way it should go. All these things were not good. You would probably be a bit perturbed by the fact that everybody was championing this character. Because you know you didn't make a story about a character that should be championed. This movie, especially by the end, looks to deconstruct the Joker. Or at least in this, to see the death of Arthur Fleck by the weight of the expectations that people on the outside put on him to be the Joker. He was not living up to what they thought he should be, and they killed him for it. That is the audience. That's the audience. And now you, as the creative person, are Arthur Fleck now. They're going to ruin you because you didn't give them what they wanted. Just like your character in the movie. That's the irony of the line, you get what you deserve. At the end of the day, Arthur Fleck got what he deserved too. And somebody possibly wanted to step in and take his place. Now, the beginning of this movie starts off telling you exactly what the hell it is. That, in case you didn't get it in the artsy sense in the first movie, in a childlike sense, we'll give you a fucking cartoon so you can understand it now. See, this is the bad side of this person, and this is a good side of this person. And when he went out there on stage, the bad side was in charge. And when the consequences came, the bad side stepped back and let the good side take the punishment. He gave it to you in a kid sense. He's basically talking down to you like children. He gave you a fucking puppet show so you could understand it now. Since you didn't understand it in the 2-hour movie he did in the beginning. Fine. I'll give you this little bit right in the beginning so you can get it. Now I'll get into all this other stuff that I want to do. The rest of the movie, the Shawshank part of the movie to me, that happens in prison, it's all part of the same thing. Yes, you can see shades of Shawshank Redemption and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in there just because they take a medication and shit like that. And it's basically Arkham Asylum, not a penitentiary, right? All well and good. Well, what do you see? A broken man. A sad, pathetic, regular, broken, weak-looking man. Getting a lot of regard and acclaim and attention for some horrific acts that he committed. And it has landed him in this insane asylum where they're giving him medication to modulate his goddamn mood. He wasn't taking pills because they were vitamins. He was taking pills to level his ass out. And what you see is Arthur Fleck is always who he has been. The same pathetic dude. That's who he is most of the time. But what everybody gravitates and appreciates him for is that moment of outburst he had. And that's where the movie lives in dealing and looking at that. Is that how does a person live up to this one high point? Now, artistically, that could be in making a movie that was $1 billion. Because the next movie, everybody expects you to do something just that big again. Even though you don't control the social conditions that the movie is released in. You don't. You don't control any of that. All you control is what you write on the paper and what you direct the actors to do. That's it. The cultural resonance, the landscape at the time of release is not under your control. So you will never hit that again. You won't. Look no further than Black Panther 1, Black Panther 2. Same director, different results. The conditions are not the same. So in this Joker movie, they kind of go into that with Arthur Fleck. Because being in a non-continuity or non-mainline continuity universe, this story can happen any kind of way, which should have been evident from the first movie, where you have an older man, Arthur Fleck, meeting Thomas Wayne, seeing a Bruce Wayne as a young boy, which in regular continuity never happened. So if you know that, there should be no pull on expectations of this didn't happen this way. I don't like this depiction of this character this way because it wasn't like this. It was never going to be like that, right? Because you're in a different universe. So every time you look back at a different universe and say, well, this one is not acting like this one, you've already fucked up. You're not accepting it for what it is because you're constantly trying to compare it to the last thing behind you. That's in a completely different universe. Now, Arthur, and this is more so, the movie is called Joker. And for what my understanding is, that the Folie Deux means a party of two. It's not about, the party of two is not Harley and Arthur, or Harley and Joker. It's not. Party of two is Arthur and the Joker persona, because that's what it is. It is a persona. It is his dark side coming out of him. That anger, that repression coming to the surface and dancing around, doing a little song and dance. And that was the easiest way to describe it visually for people, what could possibly be going on in this dude's head. That's why you spend so much time with Arthur just in Arkham. So you understand clearly when that shadow side, that dark side of his personality emerges from him and what it does, how it loves and craves this attention that it gets, how people buy into wanting that side of him to come out that he doesn't want to let out, but they keep craving it. The fans crave it. One such fan is the Lee character, or the Harley character in the movie. This is not the Harley Quinn from the Batman animated series. This ain't the Batman. This isn't the Harley Quinn from any Batman movie. This ain't the Harley Quinn that Margot Robbie played. This is the Lee Quinzel that Lady Gaga is playing in a Todd Phillips movie. And this Harley Quinn is not a good person. She was not corrupted. She was already corrupt. She was already crazy. And because she was what would be considered, if she was a guy, a stalker fan, she did things to put herself in position to get close to this guy. like a modern day stalker woman. In this movie, Harley is crazy. She does crazy shit, but it would be considered crazy to be from a family with means and money and get yourself committed to Arkham so you can get close to this character, this larger than life character of the Joker that everybody kind of idolizes, to kind of cozy up to him while you're doing your own doctoral work and get information and get close to him, to try to gain a little bit of that attention for yourself. That is modern women. In this movie, that is, I would say, that is a surrogate for modern women in the love they have for psychopaths, for people who are clearly mentally disturbed, but they glom onto these figures because they gain so much notoriety that they want that for themselves. And so they will get close, they will marry, they will even fake pregnancies to get close to this person. They don't give a fuck about the person. They care about the celebrity of the person. And you saw that in the movie with Lady Gaga and her Harley character. Once you understand and go through the movie and understand how it was happening, she was never into Arthur. She just wanted the Joker. And she wanted what Joker had, which was that attention. They may have had a closeness because Harley understood Arthur's trauma, because his trauma had been put out all over the news and stuff. His horrific acts have been showed all over the news. And she told him that in the movie, that she had never done anything in her life. He did. She wanted to be part of that everything he did with his life. And Arthur really didn't do anything but kill 3 smug motherfuckers, and one person that bullied him at work, and another person that he saw on television and didn't like, that ridiculed him. That's all he did. He took revenge on people who wronged him. But she saw that as something to triumph, as something noteworthy in the world. And it was only because everyone paid attention to it. And no one paid attention to her. This is emblematic in the scene where when Joker gets interviewed by the television guy in Arkham. This is a riff on the scene from Natural Born Killers, where Robert Downey Jr.'s character interviews Woody Harrelson's character of Mickey Knox. And they're trying to find out why Mickey Knox is the way he is. What it harkens to is people's love and society's love for killers or deplorable people, and how we idolize these people and blow them up into celebrities, even though the things that they've done are absolutely horrific. We make them celebrities. They garner cult followings. And people go out and try to act like them. While Joker is there singing to Harley, she's watching on the TV because they're streaming this shit. And what does she do? She busts a window she don't need to break and walks away with a television she doesn't need to take. Because you know by this time she is from a pretty well-off family. She's kind of a doctoral student or some shit. So she's not dumb. She can be crazy. She can be possibly psychotic in her behavior. But she is not a dumb woman. She knows exactly what it is she's doing. And she is what would be considered a crazy stalker fan. Because what does she do? She moves into his old apartment. You know, the one he killed his co-worker and his mother in? She moves in there. She was able to check herself out of a mental hospital. That means she ain't that damn crazy. But she wants that acclaim of being there with Joker. She wants that notoriety of being the Joker's lady. She doesn't necessarily care about the Joker. She just wants that attention for herself. This speaks to how they have blown up Harley Quinn in comic books to be her own character and can exist without the Joker. No. Yeah, it might be good for feminism, but she's not a good person either. And she is not much of a character if the Joker is not there to give her that oomph. That's a commentary on comics. It's a commentary on this culture with constantly girl boss and shit. It's a commentary on all of that. That you see that this woman is just a manipulative bitch to this poor, broken man who is so desperate for somebody to love him and not to feel alone in the world that he goes headlong with that shit. Now, the part in the movie that will get missed completely in this that I think is significant is to understand how this gets into the middle section and the court section and what ends the movie. Is that Todd Phillip goes in and starts deconstructing the Joker. And what people have built it up in their minds from the first movie to be is something so awesome and so great. He starts deconstructing that to show you that this character is really a sham. You really shouldn't be liking this stuff. Now, part of that goes into, in the first movie, the commentary about the movie on the outside that really got people to come out against the movie, the first movie initially, was that it was going to rile up incels and stuff like that. We could, there could be riots and people shooting in the theaters and stuff like that, because that has happened at Batman movies in the past. People over-identifying with the fucking Joker and thinking they need to be living this shit out in the real world. Well, I feel like the director was trying to make sure he walked the fuck away from that. And he answered that commentary with, if you want to say Arthur was an incel, yes. He was damn near a 34-year-old virgin, incel, abused. And in this movie, you got to see him lose his fucking virginity in solitary confinement. How did he do that, you say? Well, somehow, Quinn decided it was time for her to leave because she got enough of a hook or got enough information out of the Joker. And she got a guard to let her down into solitary confinement. Now, if you're not asking yourself, how the fuck did she get a guard to let her into solitary confinement in an insane asylum? You probably missed it. But what you also didn't miss was how women manipulate their way into situations to get things that they want. And namely, what she wanted was his seed. She has sex with him in solitary confinement. And that is Arthur's first reciprocal sexual experience. He loses his virginity in solitary with the one person he thought was there for him, that kind of understood him. And it's brief and embarrassing, and it just makes him a sad, pathetic looking man. Because it's his first time, so 2 minutes ain't even it. But after that, he's all in love. She go on with her day. She leave and she out of there. Sprucing up a house and all the rest of this damn shit, right? One of the next times they talk, you find out she's telling him, "Oh, I'm pregnant." How? That quick? What would a pregnancy do for her? Notoriety. She got a piece of him. She can sell. She can market. And that was when you saw her start kind of flittering away from him. Because for what he did, there was no way he was going to walk free ever. He wasn't. She's smart enough to know that shit. But it didn't stop her from showing up to the courthouse every day and making herself a spectacle so she could be seen and be known as the Joker's girl. As a therapist, she could sell her story and talk about what she knew about Arthur for being up close and gain herself her own notoriety, even more so from having his child. If it was real, because it was all a manipulation tactic for her benefit. Arthur went out and played the role because he wanted the attention. He wanted people to love him. And for a minute in the courtroom scene, you saw Joker actually come out. But you also saw that it was just Arthur standing there with makeup on. That's when he was feeling. Because it reached something that something that Puddle said reached him. At this point in the movie, where you get to the courtroom scene, I see it more as Todd Phillips talking about the creators of this stuff being on trial. That the expectations are coming at them for everybody else about what they should be, what it's supposed to mean, and giving them what they want. You hear Harley talking about the whole time when she's trying to manipulate the Joker about, we're going to make a mountain and we're going to start from a little hill. It's metaphoric for what she wants and what Harley wants. And they never go into and explain it, but it's there in the movie if you're paying attention. Is that Harley wants a massacre. And she's expecting Joker to give it to her. Arthur doesn't want to give her that. Because he's more apt to being in love with her and not understanding what she's in love with. It's not him. It's the carnage and the spectacle. She wants a mountain of bodies. And it will start from the hill of the few bodies that he's already laid out. Because I got everybody's attention. She wants more. And when he finally realized he can't give you more of what he already did, Harley is the outside audience as well. They want a mountain of bodies. And the writer director is telling you, I can't give you that. I don't want to give you that. Yeah, I want you to love me, but I can't give you all of that. And that's when he sets apart to deconstruct that the Joker is a mask. The person is Arthur, and that's who you were supposed to be focused on. That's who you're supposed to understand what happened to him and not fall in love with the presentation of one side of this person for one moment. The courtroom scene showed you two things. It showed you what the Joker is that people want to see and what the actual person is that people don't give a damn to see. And they both had on the same makeup. When Arthur Fleck sits there in the courtroom and looks at the camera, that is the departure for you to understand who this person is. He's looking at the audience and their expectations, and he speaks to it, their expectations. Just like in the, just like in the Arkham interview, he spoke to the expectations of the larger critical audience outside of the movie. Spoke to all of that shit. So by the end of this movie, when you get into Arthur being killed and hearing the same words echoed back at him by somebody who was possibly a crazed fan, you understand why it's happening. Because this character has to go away. This man has to go away. He didn't give them what they wanted. It's the same reason why when he finally tells Harley that he doesn't want to be the Joker, he wants to be with her, she walks away from him because she doesn't want him. She wants the spectacle of the Joker, and he will not give her that. Arthur cannot give her that notoriety. Only the Joker can. And if Arthur doesn't want to be the Joker, then she has no use for Arthur. Because that's what she wants. He will not give her pound of flesh, her mountain of bodies, her carnage. She won't give her that. And she walked away and left this man brokenhearted, waiting to be arrested. Now, what most people don't even mention in this is that I think Harley was the one who set the bomb outside of the courthouse, because she's the only one who's standing there when the Joker comes. She knew where he was going to come because she told him she moved into the place. But she's not shocked at all when he tells her about the bomb and the explosion. She doesn't even mention it. She set that damn bomb. Now, either she did it or she had somebody do it, but that's why she was not surprised and uninterested. He broke her heart and dashed her dreams by walking away from what she wanted him to do, by admitting the fact that the Joker was a part of himself he had to let go of. And it was not a good thing. And she did not like that. And she did not like him for admitting it. So she walked. Ruined her dream for her. Nothing for her to gain. Fuck you. You notice in that moment she didn't mention anything about the baby. Because there was no baby. She was manipulating him and playing him any way she could by admiration, sex, the promise of family, dangling everything that he could have ever wanted in a stable life in front of him if he only did these things she wanted him to do, to be that person. And he couldn't do it. It wasn't who he wanted to be anymore. And that didn't ride with her. It didn't ride with the dude at the end who killed him either. Because the joke that he tells him is about Arthur, the sad old clown. Now, the fact that this guy who killed Arthur at the end of the movie cuts his face, I personally still think that the character is Victor's ass in that he was cutting hash marks, not cutting his mouth to look like Joker from the Christopher Nolan movie. But even if he did cut his mouth, I don't think it's to look like Heath Ledger's Joker, which people have such a reverence for. Again, somebody who does reprehensible things and being held up as an icon and a model. Heath Ledger's Joker is nothing but Brandon Lee's The Crow. And I've said this many times. It's the same performance. That's all it is. Now, for me, if the character at the end of this Joker movie cut his mouth, it is to make him look more like the Joker that you barely saw in the Matt Reeves The Batman movie. Not to look like Heath Ledger, not to tack on to that. No. Because otherwise, there's no reason for the Joker to cut himself. Joker's smile until that Christopher Nolan movie was not related to him mutilating himself. Even in Batman 89, you can see that his smile was something that he had. But in trying to repair his face from what happened, he was stuck with that death's head grimace. So for me, because they showed this guy unnamed in the asylum already, eyeballing Arthur with a little, sneer, like he was a little bit jealous. Could be his ass. Well, maybe it's somebody who took on the identity of the Joker. It would be no different than the people who were outside the courtroom dressed like him and shit that Arthur had to run from. People who would dress up like him and want to carry out acts like him because they saw him as a hero when he was not a heroic character. He didn't redeem anybody. He didn't save anybody. He took almost glee in dispatching people that he felt wronged him. So Todd Phillips in this movie gave you a reason why what happens with characters like that. They have to go. So when you look at people who found this movie really unsatisfying and trash, regardless of music being the easy thing to say, oh, it took me out of it or whatever, listen to what they're saying they would have rather have seen. Because mind you, in the beginning, there was no standard for a Joker movie. Before Todd Phillips made that first one, there was no standard. But they will readily tell you now, on this second movie, it's not what I expected. Well, what the fuck did you expect? Carnage? You just thought he was going to be the wild, crazy Batman Joker and, killing folks and stuff? Here's a hint. This is a Joker movie. There is no Batman in this world yet. You saw Bruce Wayne. He is a fucking kid. And his parents were alive. Batman doesn't exist in this world. So that's not what you're going to get. The fact that you're looking for that is like going to a pizza parlor looking for a cheeseburger. That's not the movie you were going to get. What you did get is more of what you got the first time. And what he told you was that I'm not giving you Carnage. I'm not going to give you a mountain of bodies. This character needs to go like it should happen in the real world. And somebody, the person who takes him out, is going to be the one who was an idle fan beforehand and couldn't get what the fuck they wanted from him. So they go shit, they going to kill him. And in fact, this is what you see with the reviewers coming out telling you it's trash. They didn't get what they wanted, which was Carnage, which was Batman, Joker from comic books and everything else, when this never was that. And because they didn't get that, now they're disappointed. Now they're disappointed. This whole thing functioned as a commentary on the audience as a whole, in their love and reverence for characters like this that are not people you should be idolizing, and really looking at that and finding that weird and really asking the question, well, who's really crazy? Is it the character, or is it the audience who idolizes the character? I heard one commentator talk about how they didn't like Harvey Dent in this movie. Why not? He was boring. He's not a criminal. He's not Two-Face. Nowhere close to it yet. He's just a DA trying to put a sick man away. Is that not the person you're supposed to be rooting for? You have to ask yourself these questions. And that's why I thought I would get out my little piece on it. I'm sure there's more I could say on this. As a spoiler review, I'm not going to go beat for beat. I do have a shitload of notes on it, but I'm not going to go beat for beat on that. It's just to get through the main sentiment of this movie. Is that you are the punchline for this movie. And you, the audience member, not taking all this in and asking what the director is really trying to say to you, is you not understanding you are in this movie. And your reaction is what was predicted in the movie. So, in essence, that's why I think he ended the movie with that line. You get what you deserve. This is what you deserve for propelling this movie to that kind of height. And so this is what you get. He walked away from this so he wouldn't have to do this character again. He killed it. Now they don't have to ask him for a sequel. Which I would think, if he thought about it, was probably how it should have ended in the first movie. If he knew this kind of fervor would take place after it, I bet he would have killed the character in the first movie. Just seems like that kind of director. So that's it. That's my spoiler talk review of the Joker. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been Artisan MC, and I will see you next time. Peace.